Declaration of Independence was the first founding document in the history of the world to specifically mention happiness. As Thomas Jefferson's famous words read, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." For hundreds of years, we've stood by the idea that through hard work and perseverance, and given the right opportunities, anyone can be happy in America and achieve the American dream. But today, the American dream is on life support, and happiness is more elusive than ever. As Arthur C. Brooks points out in the New York Times, according to new research, one of the major variables under our control when it comes to overall happiness is happiness at work. And a 2012 study by researchers at Stanford University found that being happy is nearly impossible if someone's unemployed, and money aside, unemployment increases the rates of divorce and suicide. In fact, being unemployed is so important to Americans that according to the University of Chicago's General Social Survey, 3/4 of Americans wouldn't quit their jobs even if they had a sudden financial windfall. Of course, to be happy at work means you have to have a job. And right now, 10.9 million Americans don't have a job. FDR once said that happiness lies not in the mere possession of money, it lies in the joy of achievement and the thrill of creative effort. But that joy of achievement has been wiped out by 32 years of Reaganomics, decades of insane trade policies that have shipped millions of good-paying American jobs overseas, crippling austerity measures, and a general unwillingness by the government to be considered the employer of last resort. According to the Economic Policy Institute, when NAFTA was signed into law by Bill Clinton in '94, it was supposed to create 200,000 new jobs. But instead, as of 2010, thanks to growing trade deficits with Mexico, NAFTA has helped to eliminate over 680,000 American jobs. In 2010, when President Obama signed onto KORUS, the U.S.-Korea Free Trade Agreement, the Obama administration promised that that agreement would create and support at least 70,000 American jobs. But as that EPI study points out, in 2011, the U.S. trade deficit with South Korea increased by over $5 billion, costing the U.S. more than 40,000 jobs. Meanwhile, as so-called free trade agreements are wiping out American jobs in the private sector, austerity is slashing jobs in the public sector. Since June of 2009, thanks to Republican-fueled austerity measures, 740,000 Americans have lost their jobs in the public sector. And what's keeping many of these Americans unemployed are the conservatives in Washington who refuse to acknowledge that when capitalism fails, our government should be the employer of last resort. Back in 1944, FDR released his so-called Economic Bill of Rights. And one of those rights was the right to a useful and remunerative job.
In our day, certain economic proofs have become accepted as self-evident. A second Bill of Rights, under which a new basis of security and prosperity can be established for all, regardless of station or race or creed. Among these are the right to a useful and remunerative job, the right to earn enough to provide adequate food and clothing and recreation.
But conservatives in Washington don't see it FDR's way, and instead they love a phony argument over the size of government. From job-killing trade policies and devastating austerity measures to the government's refusal to be the employer of last resort, America has lost millions of jobs, and thus happiness has become an unattainable dream for far too many people. There's no way we can be a happy nation again without getting those jobs back and making sure that all Americans have an equal shot at a good job. It's time to close the books on Reaganomics, toss austerity aside, keep good jobs in our country, and make our government the employer of last resort by creating the modern equivalent of the WPA and the CCC. Only then will Americans really have the right to life, liberty, and most importantly, the pursuit of happiness.